Hello, beautiful soul. How are you doing? It is your girl Esther Joy, and if I do say so myself, it's tea time. Well, we're gonna be talking about the divine masculine and feminine energies, and balancing them, because I think it's kind of important for us to balance this aspect of ourselves and our beings. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be diving into this with you, and hopefully, we'll be balancing these energies through this chat, and I'm looking forward to it. So, first off, the divine feminine and masculine energies are within each being. We are energetically, we have to have both of these sides of the poles in order for us to be here. We all have kind of a mix of the both, and generally speaking, females have more feminine energy and males have more masculine energy. But you'll notice that that doesn't mean that you're totally excluded and you don't have any feminine energy if you're male or any masculine energy if you're female. In fact, as we're seeing in today's society, there are many people that identify with having a lot more of the other, regardless of their physical manifestations. So there's that. So we're going to really just talk about balancing these energies, which is going to look different for each person. I want you to think about, if we're talking about poles, some people are going to resonate more on one side than the other, and that's okay. But we're going to be looking at that today, and I'm just going to close the text for a moment. Okay. So it's really cool that we live in a world where we can understand a lot of things by looking in between the lines of polarity. The fact that these two opposites kind of exist, yet they're very similar in many ways, and when they come together, they create life. So there's a lot of sacred energy that's working with the divine feminine and divine masculine. And we as humans get to experience and taste both of these flavors and then see if we want a little bit more salt or pepper, okay? So I'm just enjoying this conversation. So what's good, meditative juice? Much love and peace, and really just be with yourself wherever you are. May you find peace, and yeah. So to be honest, growing up, I never really, how do I put this? I had a difficult time understanding the role of these energies. Now I am understanding much more clearly that just like we have the North and South Pole, without these poles pushing against one another in a way, we wouldn't have Earth, because that's kind of just the attraction. So, opposites attract. That is the case with the divine feminine and masculine. That is why they come together. And this also, we think about the concept of love. And when I think of love, I do think of it as like the glue-on to any atom. It is like the attraction force that keeps all things together and provides a space for all things to be existent in, like gravity. And I think that we can agree that the poles are kind of playing a role with gravity in terms of, attraction and keeping us together. So same thing. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about balancing the masculine and feminine, what that looks like first off in your own life, in your own personal life. Well, in my personal life, I'll share what that looks like, and also in relationships, and then lastly in soul. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I hope that the information shared in this video will assist you, inspire you, motivate you to find that balance and honoring both of these energies and seeing. So we are seeing on the earth, and I guess I'll note this before we get into the personal aspect of these energies, that the poles are actually shifting, apparently. I'm not like a physicist, I'm not like an expert, so you want to fact check me on this, but from my understanding, like, the magnetic poles are shifting, so north is becoming south and south is becoming north. Now, kind of makes sense with everything that's crazy going on, but also with what we're seeing in society and how we feel like the roles are shifting in terms of the divine masculine and feminine energy. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into it. The feminine is always going to be the feminine, and the masculine is always going to be the masculine, though there are different interpretations of how this energy balances itself, how it plays. It's generally speaking going to have and stay to like certain rules, though. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's just go into the personal stuff and the balancing. So for myself personally, we were kind of living a very divine, like a lot of masculine energy in my life. And how did this show up? Well, you may see this with your friends, you know, that the connection of, okay, like more masculine, more male friends, or more female friends. Personally, I found myself being and getting along with males a lot more, but also picking up on their energy a lot more, and therefore I was just kind of tapping a lot more into the masculine at one point. And so masculine energy, it is, let me just start off by saying energetically it's resonating with our solar plexus chakra, our throat chakra, third eye. Those are really and our root as well. These are like primary points that you'll see a prominent masculine energy. And what do I mean by masculine energy? Well, I mean, generally speaking, it's like what you could say more powerful in terms of its energy, is more structured. It's the yang energy. It's where we find this drive, this driven forth. It's where the sun is shining on. The feminine energy is the shadow that is casted down. It's more of this flexible, fluid energy. It's not so much power as in more surrender, and seeing the power in that as well. So the masculine would be a lot more, rigid, a lot more logical in its thinking, where the feminine would be more flexible. It would be more creative and emotional in its thinking and computing. There are a lot of ways that we can look at this and how we see the roles of this energy play out in our lives. In a lot of languages, they associate a certain, masculine or feminine energy to certain objects, so it's really interesting and so cool. So in your own personal life, of course, it's going to play a role. It might be how you dress. If you find yourself being someone that pretty much wears the same thing every day, and is very practical with what they wear, then you're probably tapping more into the masculine, whereas maybe a feminine energy would be more... No! Sorry. And a feminine energy would be more, you're just kind of like feeling whatever you want to wear. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more expressive. Masculine would be kind of like, I'm not going to say uncomfy clothes because no, but yeah, okay. Not getting too much into it. The masculine is more external and the feminine is more internal. I think that's a good way to look at this. So the masculine you can see more, and maybe you can use like a peacock as an example, like it's a little bit more showy again. And the feminine is more kind of closed off in one way. Of course, the feminine is also, you could say in a sense, the universe, where the masculine is more of the spirit or God, and that's why we call God He. Okay, there's a lot of different ways we could look at this energy and how it's playing a role. And I'm not going to go around in circles. Let's just get into the 3 points, okay, of balancing this energy within now first our personal lives. So for me, this looked like, I had a really masculine schedule, right? So it was just like time block for this. Now I have a more intuitive schedule in terms of, I'm kind of like, okay, these are the things that I want to do today and finish, and I'm gonna open myself up to do these things when the time presents itself to me, but it's not necessarily like super structured and rigid as it once was, and trust me, it's still pretty kind of rigid, but we're working on it, we're playing with it. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool to see the different ways that this is manifested and these energies play a role in your life. For me, a really masculine thing was asking for help. It was something that I did not like to ask for help. I felt like it's a sign of weakness. I didn't want anybody to know I was struggling. You know how it is. And now in my personal life, I'm tapping more into, okay, I can ask for help. So for me, it was definitely, I had a lot of masculine energy. And what happened was that I got burnt out really quickly because I just had this drive and this energy and I was just going. But I wasn't really resting, and I actually thought that resting was unproductive, and it was something that I shouldn't do. I felt bad doing. And so I'm at the point now where I'm balancing my feminine energy, and I'm getting to a point where I can ask for help and I can rest. And you can probably see in the themes of the videos that I'm actually reflecting on this quite a lot. So I think that there's a good balance for each person. Tapping into my emotions as well. This was something that for a while I didn't want to show people that I was feeling anything other than positive, aka toxic positivity. And this was, again, kind of a masculine thing. I think that males tend to cover up their emotions a little bit or not really address them as much as females, for, whatever reason. And I think, I was in that boat as well. I wasn't really showing people how I actually was feeling, and I was definitely hiding it. Now I'm at a point where I have to I take time to process my emotions, and sometimes I still have that masculine urge if I get frustrated that I feel certain ways and I want that feeling to go away or want to process it faster. But I'm learning to slow down, and it's okay, and to nurture myself at those times. Where in the past, I kind of, again, this balance for me looked like I was just kind of going, and I felt like I had to do everything myself. And now I'm tapping more into, okay, I can ask for help if I need help, and I can allow that, I can receive that, and that's okay, and I can take time to just be with emotions and to nurture other people in a way that in the past I'd call people a little bitch if they were showing too much emotion. It sounds pretty bad. Yeah, the masculine energy was definitely there. Now I'm at a point where I'm definitely more nurturing of that energy, opening the space, allowing those emotions to be felt, honoring those emotions of these souls. And even myself, that was something that I definitely have been going over. So on the other aspect, I know for some people they struggle with having too much feminine energy. It's a bit too up in the air. You don't have any schedule at all. And actually, how can I say this? There was a lot of females that kind of were jealous, or I felt like I had to compete with, and I think that again was kind of like a toxic feminine thing. And now I'm tapping more into supporting and nurturing all of my peers, all of my friends, and just allowing them to have success and to be happy for them. Okay, maybe that's a little, what I mean? So, okay, balancing. We reflect on the balancing, okay? It is so hot out here, fam. You already know, period. I definitely had a lack of feminine energy for a while, guys, and now I'm finding that balance. What does that balance look like for you in your own personal lives? What habits, routines are you doing? How do you go about your day? How do you react to your emotions? How do you interact with other people? Is it more feminine or masculine? I feel like within my business, I am pretty masculine within my own business. I feel like I like structures. I like doing things, getting them done. And that's pretty awesome. But I'm also tapping into, even with that, a more passive approach where it's flowing a little bit more intuitively, not always analyzing all the data, but also listening to my heart. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, personally, looking at how you interact with yourself. What kind of relationships are you cultivating, and how are you cultivating those relationships? I think that this is something I'm learning a lot more of. Again, tapping into the masculine, I don't really like look at my appearance, or I'd probably take care of myself the best. And now I'm tapping into more of a space where I'm seeing the joy and pleasure of taking care of my physical vessel as well as helping others, and it's awesome. So we're getting more into that. It's cool. We balance in the energy. I'm thankful. We're learning the lessons within all of, the masculine and feminine, and also honoring other people's energy. Okay. So yeah, all right. Balancing your energy is going to look different for you. I think when you need to balance, when you find yourself kind of struggling internally with how things are going, or your relationships in your life and how you're interacting in those relationships. And that, I think, is a telltale sign that, hey, some energy is off and you need to look. I think that it's good to know that each being that you are in a relationship with is going to have a fluctuating amount of masculine and feminine energy. And that a part of what I'm learning is that you're, to be in harmony with whoever and whatever being, be it your dog, cat, mom, dad, brother, partner, child, you're going to have points where you're going to have to be more feminine and more masculine depending on the relationship and the situation. But the key of harmonizing in relationships with other people is really allowing yourself to see where are their dominant traits, aka their masculine traits, and where are their weaknesses, aka their feminine traits, and how can I, be a complement to that? How can I assist that balance in being more solid so that within that relationship there's more harmony? So I see this in my business partnerships where thankfully we are good at different things. So for instance, my partner's really good with numbers and for Check Your Chakras. Danielle, awesome with numbers, awesome with spreadsheets. I am not at all. And finding where I can actually help her. I'm better at copywriting and writing up emails. So we find a balance where we're not trying to compete in the same thing, but we're really complementing each other, and we're also honoring what we bring to the table. And I think that's so important when we are looking at whatever relationship it is in your life. Like, every single relationship has a balance of masculine and feminine energy, and when you can find where you resonate and harmonize most with that person, with the being that you're in that relationship with, that is where the beauty is. Okay, it's awesome when you have similar energy, but I'm realizing that's also not really always the best thing. It's good to have that diversity and to have, one partner has a little bit more feminine energy, one partner has a little bit more masculine energy, and when you combine those two, you create this harmony. So really looking at what your partner's strengths and weaknesses are, whoever they are, again, I already listed off a whole bunch. That is important, and we be learning, okay? Different paths, same destination, absolutely. And here's another thing I learned, especially in partnerships. It's not like one task is more important than the other. We need all of these tasks to get to the destination, right? So even if, you don't see, for instance, I'm an artist, even if they don't see the numbers and the background and the back end stuff that had to happen, it is as important as the front end stuff. Both of them are needed in order for this whole system to flow harmoniously. And so honoring each person's what they bring to the table, the energy that the divine feminine and divine masculine bring. I think in society we're kind of seeing an imbalance with the divine feminine. We're seeing like an excessive amount of energy with the divine feminine, and the only reason I say this is because in the past we have had an extreme amount of divine masculine energy, which kind of put down the divine feminine energy. But now we're kind of seeing the reverse in terms of the way that we're seeing society be currently. It is leaning a little bit more to the divine feminine, and that's not bad or good. It's life is going to continue to fluctuate. We're finding a balance though, and there's always a balance in between these two. Wherever you look, you might see you might see that increase of divine feminine, but in reality, it's balancing itself out at all times. And so why I say that there's kind of this imbalance with divine feminine, because I've realized a lot of the feminist movement is kind of a really masculine movement, but so this is why it's always balancing, right? Because the feminist movement is this divine feminine energy that is coveting divine masculine power. And so technically speaking, it's still divine masculine energy, but it's in the guise of divine feminine energy. The divine feminine energy is all about surrendering. We see a lot of feminists are very active and very much wanting to work, right? They're trying to take the divine masculine energy. And this is why I kind of think that, okay, if the earth poles are really shifting, then we're going to see a shift in what the divine feminine, divine masculine roles, and in terms of what that means, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to affect the core of these energies. I don't think that's possible. But yeah, I think that's a part of it. Yes, you can. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So, again, they're all perfect. I think that when we look down on one of these parties or the other, then we have already tarnished the other energy, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of an example, but that sigh was my example. That sigh was my example, guys. So, in terms of balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine energies, with relationships, that's what I would say. In terms of society, we're seeing that, it's just more of a passive approach that we're seeing, is why I say that it seems to be a little bit more feminine dominant. We're seeing that with, I don't even want to say the economy, but it's just not as, maybe, active physically. It's more passive kind of action with the economy that we're seeing. So it's interesting. There's a lot of reflections that you could connect with these energies, and I would love to know what you think. Again, the divine feminine is about letting go, and the divine masculine is about receiving. Building up, I would say. Building up. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the soul. We talked about relationships. We talked about personal stuff. Now, the soul is where it's all at. You want to receive, you have to go out and get it. Now, I believe that all of our souls are resonating at a really unique resonance that is only for you, because you, period, nobody else can resonate on the vibe that you're at. Why? Because with the fabric of reality, you are but a string in the fabric of reality, and your string must be unique but still resonate with many souls in order to connect us all together back to this idea of this attraction force and whatnot. Guys, I feel like, what am I talking about? I'm just trusting and having faith that God's working through me and sharing the information that needs to come through. So what I will say with the soul is that we have to act. We have to do the actions for our mission. I believe that God's given each and every one of us a mission. And that mission is something that will be divinely revealed to you in your time. For some people, I think it's like a lightning bolt. Some people are born knowing what their mission is. For some people, they go their whole life maybe never knowing what the mission is until on their deathbed, and they're still filling out the mission. So I have faith that everybody's going to fulfill their mission here on earth, especially if you're watching this. But what I will say is that in terms of the divine feminine and divine masculine, there are times when you have to take action. Divine feminine energy, masculine energy, you have to take action. You have to go out, you gotta hunt, okay? You gotta go search for what your mission is. You gotta take the action. You gotta, get the information. You have to actively use energy to get to where that mission is being fulfilled. But there are also times in the divine feminine where you just have to be. You just have to be. You just have to receive the information from the mission. You just have to receive what is a part of the mission. You just have to receive. Sometimes this is just shit going down, and it just sucks, okay? And a part of the divine feminine is surrendering to that and just allowing it to go down, because that's a part of the mission. Part of that mission, though, for some people is knowing when to fight. We're going through spiritual warfare, right? So for us, it's kind of knowing, okay, when do we surrender and when do we fight? Many people think, and some people are wired to fight all the time, right? It's just like demon after demon. They fight and they fight and they fight. And for some people, it's surrendering. And surrendering, you might feel like, well, what's the point of surrendering? What's the point? Because that's a part of the mission. Like, it's not that you're weak. It's not that necessarily, like, something's wrong with you. Just sometimes you have to surrender. And in life, this looks like maybe if there's an addiction that you're struggling and you've been fighting it, that resistance obviously isn't helping you. It's actually making it worse because you're further imprinting this energetic frequency into your energy body that is a struggle with this addiction. And you're making that imprintation of this addiction more deep into your being. So when you surrender, you're actually allowing that energy to go, and you'll see that reflection that it will be a lot easier. The energy that you once were grasping onto is now being released, and it's a lot, it's easier for you to release that addiction or that addictive behavior as well. So that is why we have to know within our soul when we should hold on to certain energy and when we should release. And quite practically, I mean, when ideas come into your mind, when we're going through a spiritual warfare, you already know on social media, the news, day-to-day conversations, politics, and other matters come up. And so you have to use your selective attention in terms of what are you grasping onto, aka what are you building, and what are you releasing? What do you not want to interact with? What do you not want to manifest more of into the world? Knowing this and realizing that this is such a balance that you need to know, so that the more you practice and train yourself in your own balancing of divine feminine and masculine energies, it will become more automatic in terms of you will know what to release with your experience. What energies just naturally will be released and which ones you should hold on to. And energetically, that is you connecting more to the physical manifestation, aka the sensations or five senses, and connecting that back to your soul and knowing what is not resonant with your soul. And that's really the balance that we are all striving for, right? We're striving for that soul manifestation, a life that is aligned with our soul, our heart, our body, our mind. That's all aligned and ultimately with God, what God's given us, what God has put in our heart, and what God has literally created our soul to experience here on earth. And that's why it's important to be aware of how you're balancing your divine feminine, divine masculine energies, because there's a time and place for everything under the sun. We have both of these energies. I know a lot of males that are kind of ashamed of their feminine energies, or they're not really sure how to hone in on them and how to wield them in such a way where it's actually assisting them. But I promise you have that energy for a reason. If you're like a super sensitive person and you're not sure why, you don't have to be frustrated. You can give yourself permission to feel those feelings, and actually you'll probably find something really valuable within that experience of just allowing yourself to honor the energy that you have and realizing you don't have to resist everything all the time. So I love you. I appreciate you for tuning into this live video. I think that we're kind of coming to a closing, but just wanted to remind you that there's so much more that I didn't even talk about with the divine feminine, divine masculine. But I hope that this is like a good intro video. Maybe I'll look up more and like dive more deeply in a future video if you want me to. But it's such a blessing and honor to talk about this energy and to express and share, this part of the journey with you. I am kind of shook with how I'm still working on balancing all the way, mind you, but just how far I feel personally I've come with balancing and identifying the imbalance of my own energy and how that was affecting my life, the physical manifestation of that energy. And it's something that I'm still learning, and I'm still balancing, and I'm still honoring. I'm also honoring those around me, knowing that each person's going to have their unique balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine. It's going to pop up differently. But I just wanted to make this video to allow you the opportunity to honor. The more you can honor both of these energies, the easier it will be to balance them, because they're in your life and they're present for a reason. Lean not unto your own understanding, but trust the Lord. All right, yeah, amen. Thank you. Big Willie. I appreciate it because you already know. I appreciate you, Anthony. And also, look at your parents, okay? I don't know if your parents are alive, if you have memories of your parents or your grandparents. Look at your parents, because this is where you'll really get a lot of information between how you developed your divine masculine and feminine energies and how they're kind of playing a role, you know? Look at your dad. What kind of work did they do? How did they handle finances? How did they, you know, take care of material things? Look at your mother. How did she handle her emotions? You know, how did she nurture you or your siblings? You know, looking at these is really important because it will allow you the opportunity to have more insight in your own energy and how to proceed in balancing these energies. I think it's a lot easier to look at other people and know what's going on with their energy sometimes than it is with our own. So that's why I'm suggesting that you should definitely look at your mother and father. Or, you know, the figures that you see as your mother and father to you. You know, this might not be your biological mother or father, but this could be an aunt, uncle, cousin, friend, whoever it is. Looking at their energies and really observing, you know, for the feminine, how are those emotions being handled? What kind of actions, or, you know, how are they nurturing themselves in the physical? And for the masculine, how are they taking control of the physical? You know, what are they doing in terms of monetary sustenance? You know, that's the things, you know, how are they taking action, and in the feminine, how are they receiving? And looking at these, reflecting on them, I think you'll find a lot of valuable insight for you in balancing your energies. And that's really all I have to share in this video. I really do hope that this video will help you and that you will continue to balance your energy, because I do feel like this is a part of manifesting heaven on earth. We have to balance ourselves. We have to find that center of gravity where these two energies are just nice and balanced, and that allows for this expansion or this stabilization of energy to take place, where real creation can be made. These two energies then have the opportunity to unite and expand and create something that I can't even fully comprehend, but in my heart I feel, and maybe you feel too. So I love you. I thank you for joining today's video. I hope that you found value from it, and that you take time to reflect on your masculine and feminine energy. How are you balancing it? How are you allowing this energy to play a role in your life? I love you. Yeah, smack that like button if you like this video, you found value in it, and you'd like me to do more like so. I would appreciate that, and it does help me know if I should do more and talk more about the divine feminine and masculine. Yeah, I love you and I appreciate you. God bless. Namaste.